Joining me right now is the former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mexico, and the Philippines, former Deputy Director of State, former National Intelligence Director under Bush 43, and currently the Vice Chairman for McLarty Associates, John Negroponte. Ambassador, good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Your take on all of this?
Yeah, where to start? I think the first thing, there's one very important point of clarification here. When the president says that if they follow a soft Brexit, that a trade deal with the U.S. may not be possible, I think that's less of a threat and more of a statement of fact, because what Mrs. May seems to be trying to negotiate is to remain in the European Customs Union, even though they're getting out of the EU as a whole. And if they remain in the European Customs Union, they'll be bound by the trade rules of the EU, and therefore will not be at liberty to negotiate separate individual bilateral trade deals. So I think maybe a bit more is being made of that than it deserves. Boris Johnson presumably resigned because he wanted a much harder exit so that they wouldn't be part of the customs union, and they'd be at liberty to negotiate separate deals with other countries.
Now, this is a really important point that you're making, because it's really rules-based as opposed to an opinion, because this is,
I think so.
Everybody's talking about, oh, how could he say all this stuff before he actually sits down with Theresa May? The UK officials have told us at Fox News that it will come up in the press conference. So they'll talk about that. We're going to take our viewers back there live when they get to the podiums, and we'll see when and if it comes up. Let me ask you this, because Prime Minister May said that the President, Trump, quote, did a very good job at NATO. This comes as the President said, of course, that the two worked very hard together at the summit, but the President was jigging in the fact that all of our allies do not pay enough when it comes to defense spending. Has the gap between the two leaders widened in the few days since? And what is your take on President Trump pushing our allies to pay up on defense?
Well, I think, as we've discussed before, I think the substance of his foreign policy is probably better than the form. He prides himself in his role as a disruptor and putting people off guard. But if you look at the ultimate result, both his press conference after the NATO meeting was over and equally or more importantly, the 18-page communique, it was a very solid reaffirmation of the NATO alliance. And that is probably what Mrs. May was referring to. And in addition, of course, she probably wants to put the best face on things. She's being perhaps a little bit more diplomatic than he was.
Right, of course she is. So the president has a meeting now in Helsinki on Monday with Vladimir Putin. In a newly released Fox News poll, 53% of Americans say they think President Trump is not tough enough on Russia, but 59% say that President Trump should meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. What is at stake with this Putin meeting? And, I think there's a difference between what President Trump says about Russia and actually what he does, because when you look at what he's said about sanctions and what he's done in terms of sanctions, what he's talking about in terms of oil being manipulated, it doesn't look very friendly.
Yeah, I think we're back to the same proposition of what he says and what he does. You got to watch what he does also, very much so. And in the case of Russia, they've provided lethal weaponry to the Ukraine. We've forward deployed forces to the Baltic states. And so I think we've taken a pretty strong stance. I think the meeting is important. I think it should go ahead. It makes sense for us to meet with another permanent 5-member of the UN Security Council. I'm sure the foreign policy issues that will come up will be Syria, Iran, and what the situation on the Korean Peninsula. The one thing I am concerned about is the question of Ukraine, and I think it's very important that the president maintain a firm posture on Ukraine throughout. I don't think we can afford the risk of him saying, well, maybe we can concede to their position here or there. This was a blatant aggression against another sovereign state, and I think we must uphold the principles of the Westphalian system and the UN Charter.
Let me switch gears and ask you about Mexico, because the president has sent a delegation to Mexico, Ambassador, and of course you are the former ambassador to Mexico. Kirstjen Nielsen, Stephen Mnuchin, a couple of others are going to Mexico to meet with the new president there. What are your thoughts on a NAFTA deal and what could get accomplished with this new president in Mexico?
Well, first of all, I think it's a good initiative on the part of the administration to send this high-powered delegation down to Mexico so soon after the election of Manuel López Obrador. I think it shows that we plan to take his administration seriously and want to get to know him early, and it looks like we're probably going to want to see him often. I think the NAFTA is in a little bit of a state of limbo. It has not been abrogated, as the president occasionally threatened during the campaign. We've been working at negotiating a new agreement or revising the old one, but that seems to be a little bit on hold, and I think I heard the president say the other day he'd like to wait until after our elections. Well, if he puts it in suspended animation, I think that's just fine. I hope we don't do anything further than that so that we can get back to business on finishing up a NAFTA after our midterm elections. Mexico is one of our most important trading partners, second or third ranking, $500 billion a year. We have a 2,000-mile common border. We have just a multiplicity of interests at stake in that critical bilateral relationship.
And maybe if they do a deal with Mexico, they ultimately wrangle Canada to agree to similar terms.
Well,
as well.
It's the three.
Yeah,
I think it's all three. And I think the NAFTA has been a very positive thing over these past 25 years, despite everything that's been said.
Ambassador, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
John Negroponte.